listening to Flop Culture. This is a podcast all about flops, good and bad, big and small. I'm your host, Fionnuala. Hope you're well. You look well. You look great. You look well rested. I hope that's the case. I really hope you enjoyed last week's episode on True Detective Season 2 with Brian Lloyd. There is a video episode coming for that. Watch this space on the YouTube. That's Fionnuala J. My camera got stuck in a tripod, hence the delay. We love that. Are you watching True Detective Night Country? Please let me know. I'm dying to talk about it with people. I'm not sure if you saw on social media the response that Nick Pizzolatto gave. He immediately changed his Instagram bio, I think it was his Instagram bio, when the show premiered to state that he was not in any way involved with True Detective Night Country, which is, man-child behaviour, potentially? Yeah, girls. I'm loving Callie Race. I'm loving Jodie Foster. And sorry, I will say as well, there's actually a really good piece in The 42 by Gavin Casey, former guest on Flop Culture. And it's an interview with Callie Race because people who don't know, Callie Race plays Evangeline in True Detective Night Country. And she's actually previously a boxer. She's moved into acting in more recent years. It's a very interesting story. So I would really recommend reading that interview. I'll actually leave it in the show notes, a link to read it. This week was very busy. Obviously, lots of awards, lots of chatter around that. So I'm going to leave the news section today. But I will say there is actually, I've got a gorgeous treat for you. There's a separate episode all about the Emmys, a little bit about the Golden Globes, a little bit about the upcoming SAGs and our predictions for that. And we also got into the Oscars as well because we had to, with my very good friend, Owen Keane, former Suckheads co-host. He's welcome back at any point if they do decide to do a prequel, but hopefully they don't because I don't think that would be good. But Owen Keane is back and that will be coming later this week. So I hope you enjoy that. We're talking about our previous predictions and who actually won and what's going to come up for Screen Actors Guild, the Jeremy Strong of it all. Yeah, we're going to be talking all about that a little bit later on in the week. So look forward to that. But anyway, from many, many bops to a gargantuan flop, all I can do is sigh talking about this week's topic. Released in 2004, Mean Girls, directed by Mark Waters and written by Tina Fey, became an instant classic. Its sharp wit, memorable characters, and iconic quotes made it a staple in teen movie history. So why was there even an attempt to recreate history with a sequel without the original stars or writer? Joining me to discuss Mean Girls 2 is presenter and singer Zeinab. Hope you enjoy. Zeinab, you are so welcome to Flop Culture. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I have been itching to come on, so I'm so excited to be here.
And you picked a great... Well, okay. In itself is not good, but you know what? It's a flop that I hadn't watched. Timing is perfect. Obviously,
Yes.
The Mean Girls musical movie adaptation is out. So we're talking Mean Girls 2. When did you first watch this? I suppose even before that, would you consider yourself a big Mean Girls fan?
Oh, huge Mean Girls fan. So when it came out back in 2004, I was in first year.
Okay.
So it was like the ultimate watch it at almost every sleepover that we went to. Yeah. So it was almost on rotation. It was either Mean Girls or Bring It On. Mean Girls, Bring It On, like the every classic, time. Yeah, every time we had a sleepover. So I'm a huge diehard Mean Girls fan, and by the time Mean Girls 2 came out, I had left school and I was like, I'll give it a go. Like, let's see what it's like. And I forgot how bad it is. Because I was like, when you were like, what flop do you want to pick? And I was like, oh my God, Mean Girls 2. But I hadn't watched it in like well over 10 years. Yeah. So when I revisited, I went, wow, it's worse than I remember.
Wow. That's a word you could use. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Like, you know, it's one of those things, don't mess with a good thing. Mean Girls, like the original, so good. You know, it's a different conversation if we're talking about Mean Girls, the musical, Mean Girls, the adaptation of the musical.
Yeah.
But I forgot how this has nothing to do with the original story. However, there's elements from the original scattered throughout, which just makes it all the more jarring.
Yeah. Look, I can understand why they would want to do a sequel. Obviously, the success of the first, kind of slightly unprecedented. You're talking launching the careers of Rachel McAdams, Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Seyfried.
Yes.
Like, incredible comedy. Visually, it's a film that's kind of stood the test of time. Like, there's so many callbacks to it. People are very protective and precious over it, though. And that's what makes a sequel difficult, especially after that much time. And I suppose with this one, you know, Tina Fey's not involved, so there's a kind of worry there. What's the writing going to be like? Spoiler, not good. And also, this was kind of a straight-to-DVD, made-for-TV thing, so you automatically have that it's very kind of sanitised in comparison to Mean Girls 1, which is kind of applauded because of its bite. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's definitely as well, like, with the original, you know, watching it when I was like, 12 or 13, there's so many jokes that didn't land until I was a little bit older. Whereas with this one, you can see, like you can absolutely see how Tina Fey is not involved. The writing is, as you said, not very good. And then even just the whole thing is very low budget. Like the costumes, like do they ask the cast to just go into their wardrobes and drag out lacy leggings and a rah-rah skirt? Like it's so bad.
Zeinab, it's the intro. I literally have written down, no, this intro looks like it was made in MS Paint. You know when she's on her Vespa, but it like drives in and it's like Mean Girls 2. I was like, I could have made that in CapCut. You know
it's
what I mean?
So bad.
But anyway, talk to me about the plot. Like what is happening? As you said, it is a sequel, but it's not involving the characters from the first Mean Girls. Who are we meeting? What's going on?
Okay, so we have Jo, who has moved to the town. She is always jumping from school to school because her dad, I want to say, is a mechanic for like race cars.
NASCAR, yeah.
Thank you. I was like, okay, something like that. And then it's like her mom has passed away, so it's always just been her and her dad, and she's like very much a tomboy. She's kind of like a strong female character. And I was like, okay, I see who we're kind of rolling with here. Then she goes into the school. There is a girl who is supposed to be like the poor girl who doesn't have any friends, doesn't get any attention. She's kind of just there. Then you've got the plastics who are not very plastic. You've got one of the girls, Hope, who is a germaphobe. You have Chastity, who is supposed to be very dumb, who she doesn't actually seem... The writing doesn't make her all that dumb. She's not Karen.
Dumb, but it's also kind of like slut-shamey in a way that it's like her name's Chastity, but she's shagging everyone in the school.
Yes.
She doesn't understand what her name means. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, okay, this is where we're going. And then you've got Mandy, who's supposed to be the Regina of it, who I'm not really buying. She's not all that mean. Like, they're all wagons, to be honest. They're kind of wagony.
Yeah, they're a bit wagony, but in some ways, like, I don't know, Regina had the kind of humour to her as well. And I suppose with Regina, it was like you could understand why people were following her and why she had built the plastics and why the rest of the school were afraid of her. With these three, I'm like... You are the three least intimidating people I've ever met in my entire life. Despite that, I know they get up to it, they're actively committing crimes and stuff, and in some ways they're way more heinous than the plastic.
Yes.
But I kind of don't buy it in another sense, you know. I think that's the issue with a lot of these characters. I don't buy a lot of them, especially Jo, who's supposed to be this Katie replacement, except it's not animals, it's cars. Yeah. I found that really irritating as well when she's going into the school being like, you know, everyone's in their cliques and she's like comparing them to cars. I was like, boring. Like, don't force this, you know what I mean?
I know, I was watching that and I was like, my ears kind of went, wait, what are we comparing this to? Like, we're comparing them to cars. But then it's one thing that I did like, right, one thing that I'll give them is, rather than, you know, in the original, she's not dumbing herself down, like Jo is not dumbing herself down for a guy. She's like, actually, they're in essentially woodwork class. What do they call that again?
They call it shop.
Yeah, shop. I was like, you're in woodwork, right? You're in woodwork.
Come on.
Let's call it what it is. Okay, let's call it what it is. And
make your clock and shut up.
I know, what was it they have to build? A bird, what's it? A birdhouse.
A birdhouse, yeah.
And he's like, oh, you can paint it. I'm like, oh, okay, misogynistic, of course, immediately. And then she's like, okay, I can actually build it, whatever she says. But basically she's just like, I'm probably better at this than you. And I was like, oh my God, okay, maybe it's not as I remembered. Maybe it's not as bad as I remembered. And then it's just downhill from there.
Yeah, because she doesn't stay very likeable. Do you find that? I know she goes through her own arc of kind of becoming a bit plastic and becoming a bit mean girl herself, but like, I just found it very hard to root for her, especially with the central plot, we should say. So you mentioned that other character whose name is Abby, played by Jennifer Stone.
Yes.
People would recognise her from Wizards of Waverly Place. The whole conceit is that Abby has this rivalry with Mandy. Mandy kind of hates her because they are both rich, essentially, right?
Yes.
But Abby seems to be richer, and her parents kind of dote on her because she's an only child, and Mandy is like threatened by that because all the time when they were growing up, it was like Abby got better things, and then Abby's like boobs came in before Mandy. So it's this whole thing. So even though they're not even on the same pecking order in school, Mandy just fucking hates her, right?
Yeah.
And then because of this reason, Abby doesn't really have many friends in school. So Joe kind of sees this all happening, whatever, and Joe drops Abby home at one point.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Joe meets Abby's dad. And Abby's dad, the actual villain of this movie, I think we need to talk about, right? Free. Abby's dad is like, here, my daughter has no friends. What can I pay you to be her friend? Because Joe really wants to go to this specific college that her mum went to. You mentioned her mum's dead. It's obviously all a lot.
Yes.
And they don't know if they're going to be able to have the tuition because her dad's fucked up something with the car.
So he has to use the money for that. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
So
yes.
Joe's like, oh, okay, morally, this is abhorrent. But also, I really want to go to college. So yeah, I am going to pretend to be your daughter's friend. While you're going to pay me thousands of dollars to pretend to be her friend.
Like, stop. So this, okay, right. How did I forget this main part of the story? It's because it happens so short. It happens briefly, and then a manila envelope appears every so often. You go, oh my God,
You do kind of forget that it's like ongoing.
You kind of forget, but I forget that her dad is apparently like this major salesman who sold like, what's it called? Kitty toilet.
He's basically like king of JVC, you know?
Yes.
You know when you're in Woodies and you pass those aisles and there's
oh my God, a JML.
JML,
yes.
JVC, and they have those, which I have bought, those mitts that you get for your pet, and it's like a hand shape.
Oh, I love a JML.
Obsessed. Or like those copper pans, and they're like, these are the best pans you'll ever buy in your life, and they're €20 and you get them in heaps.
Oh my God, are the machines that get rid of the pilling? Yes.
Oh,
give
brilliant.
them all to me.
Brilliant.
Give them all to me.
Yeah, that's why he's so rich. He's like king of that. Like he can sell anything, basically. Yeah. He said. So that Joe's like, oh, that's why I was convinced because he sold me on it. Blah blah blah. So but that
he didn't need to do much convincing,
no,
she was like,
all. Oh, yeah, actually, yeah. I will pretend to be friends with Abby. This is morally reprehensible, but sure. Like, that plot is kind of running underneath the whole thing, but on top of it, it's more, as Joe is getting friends with Abby, they just decide to fucking make Mandy's life living hell.
Yeah.
Which fair, but that's when it all kind of gets mixed up, and then Mandy's like, I hate Joe, because the lads all fancy her, because she's hot and confident, and, you know, not motivated by internal misogyny.
No.
And then seeing her be friends with Abby, and not friends with plastic, she's like, wow! So they're all against each other, and that's when Mandy obviously reveals eavesdrops on the plot that's ongoing with herself and Abby. That Abby obviously finds out, devastated. Joe's boyfriend, the sexist guy who's suddenly
Tyler is his name?
Tyler, who people recognise from a former flop that we did, Scream Queens.
Oh, is he in that?
Yes, the actor's name is Diego. I had it written down, I'll get it in a second. But he plays the main fella in that. If people remember the Senorita Awesome scene, he's the fella, he's the barista, like in Scream Queens.
Oh, okay. Thought he looked familiar.
He's prone to a flop now, I will say. That man.
He says yes to any script.
That man is obsessed with being in really, really, really
Oh God, he can
Diego Bonita is his name.
Okay, right.
So could you predict, okay, so I'll be honest, I had never watched the movie before doing it for this podcast.
Okay.
And my understanding was that I had a totally actually wrong idea of this. I thought it was that like actually it was the plastics were good in this and they were like having to be normal to go undercover or something. I don't really know.
Yeah.
So then I watched this and I was like, what? I actually couldn't fathom these two concurrent plots. Like, it was mad.
No, there's so much going on because you're hating all of them at the exact same time. The only person that you don't hate is Abby, but you are just kind of like, oh, get a backbone, you're annoying me now, like just stop floating along. Like, I think the most irritating thing is just seeing how, like, obviously fickle everybody kind of is in these movies, but they're all just so very fickle in the way that, like, when there's this huge reveal, like, oh my God, Joe, like, she was lying to you the whole time, Abby's dad was paying for you to be her friend, that she's kind of like, oh, okay, I forgive you. Like, it's just so, it's so quick. And I kind of, maybe it was because when I watched it, I was younger, it all seems to be happening in like slower, like, I don't know, slow motion. I felt like the first half, watching it back, the first half felt incredibly slow. They gave so much time to so many things that they didn't need to give time to.
This is an hour and 36 minutes and it feels like it could be fucking Killers of the Flower Moon.
Fuck me.
It feels 4 days long.
It's so long. I was like, when when does it end? I forgot when it ends. And just when you're like, okay, fine, Abby forgives her. Okay, right. They find out that man, like that, you know, she's allowed to kind of play this game. They challenged each other to a football game, like a tag football game.
So it's similar to the first movie in the sense that Jo, because she's kind of taken down Mandy, and like she's with Tyler, and people already kind of admire her because she's cool and whatever. She kind of becomes plastic, semi-mean girl herself, and at this point their summer or their dance is happening, but it's also like a fundraiser, so it's raising money for
charity,
the Humane Society.
Yes.
Stray animals, something to do with animals. Anyway,
yeah.
So at that point, she's being voted like the prom queen, whatever, spring fling queen, whatever the fuck queen it is, right?
Yeah.
But then, obviously, it's revealed. Then Mandy reveals the whole plot about being paid to be her friend, whatever, and everyone's against her. But at that point, all the votes are in. So then Joe's like, okay. Then there's this other
concurrent
like subplot about the fact that Joe is framed for stealing the money raised for the dance for the Humane Society, which for some inexplicable reason is kept in a perspex heart just in the middle of the fucking school. That's the school's fault. There's not enough security, I would say. That's that easy to steal. Anyway, Joe is framed for that theft. So then Joe's like, okay, I didn't do this, and you want to be fucking queen, whatever. I challenge you to a football game, and I'll prove that I didn't steal the money, and also, fuck you, you're not going to be queen, right? And Mandy's like, I don't know why Mandy said yes, first of all.
I don't know why she said yes. And then I also don't know why it was like, okay, you can start recruiting people for your team, even though because of this reveal, we should say Principal Duval is also in this movie, even though they should just change the whole thing. Anyway, that's a different story.
I don't know why he came back.
I don't know why he came back either.
He can't have been paid that much, like.
He surely can't. His script was terrible. The whole part, every time he appears.
To be honest, some of his lines are some of the best of the film. Which says everything.
I know, and they were
There was one line I wrote down that I was like, that's kind of funny, and that was it.
I'm like so curious to see what it was. Did I write down?
It's when they talk about Joe being an exchange student, and one of the plastics says, what did they exchange her for?
Oh.
I was like, that was funny. Now I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, yeah, we're like...
It's because of a comparison to the other lines that were before it. You're like, yay! So basically, he expels Joe because he's like, okay, you've been doing all these shady dealings and you are suspected of theft, so you're out of the school.
Robbing from an animal charity.
Exactly, as you would. And because of that, then she's like, okay, well, how, like, you know, I'm like, you know, oh, it's on, Mandy, or whatever. And then they're like, oh my God, you have to get out of they're before the match or whatever, the game, they're in the locker rooms and he's like, you have to get out because this is school property. And they're like, oh my God. But like, the pitch is not school property, and I've gotten, what was it, like a permit or something?
Because it's like a public park or something. I was like, why are we spending minutes on this? Mother of fucking Christ.
Like, it was unnecessary
they spent 3
information.
seconds on Joe's like exposition to be like, why is she here? So you need to understand she likes cars. Her dad works on cars. They're always moving around. She's gone to high school. She doesn't know how she's going to go. You have to take all of that in 4.5 seconds, and then we get a full scene explaining why she actually can be on the school.
Oh my God! And
despite the fact that I was not sitting there questioning why she's in the school.
I know, I didn't care. I was like, let's just get on with this game so I can finish this movie. And then so I have to say, my other half saw what I was watching.
Shout out Trev.
Woo! When I was watching this, right? And he was like, what are you watching? He was like, this looks so low budget because the pitch is the grass is so burnt, okay? If you watch it back, you can tell that there's hardly any money gone into this, right? They're playing tag rugby. Nobody really cares. I mean, tag American football. I kind of glazed over when I was rewatching this because there's like, oh, here's another character that's going to be in it for all of 3-4 seconds that we don't know, that we haven't seen before. Oh, here's another person that we don't know and won't see ever again. And they give so much time to these people. And then they find out during all of this that Mandy's boyfriend actually was the one to...
framed Joe for stealing money.
Yeah.
And they were able to do this because Abby's with this hacker fella in the school.
Who actually, can we also have a moment for this guy who's a hacker in the school? They were like, oh my God, one day he will, when he will rig the American presidential elections when it's high tech. I was like, oh my God, write that down.
When they did say that, I was gagged a little bit. I was like, did Mean Girls 2 predict Donald Trump? Never mind this.
Did they just do? Yeah.
It was the only time where I audibly had any kind of reaction.
Oh, I had to rewind. I was like, huh.
Yeah, because he's able to find security footage. I don't know, you know, every hacker in every movie is like...
There's always one.
You know, but it's like the normal person sits next to them and they're like, are you going to be able to do this? Zachariah, whatever your name is? And they're like, it's going to be pretty hard, but it's not impossible. I just need to hack into the mainframe. I'm in. And then he gets all the security footage and able to send it to everyone's phones.
Oh my God, sorry. Also, he got the security footage from the neighbour across the road because they would see that, like, it was someone snuck into her garage to put the money in there, and the neighbour's name is Mr. Winkle. Like, Mr. Winkle, okay? Like, why do we know? We don't need to know who Mr. Winkle is. Yeah, we know who Mr. Winkle is. Also, can I also have a shout out to the character in it who's legally blind?
Yeah, what was that about?
Why is she's just randomly dotted around, and then she's like, I'm legally blind, and she's there like this. And we're like, why is this?
It's this really weird, misplaced... like attempt at comedy or something.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It's so bizarre.
I'm like, it's so un-PC. Is it trying to be funny, but then it's also offensive, but it's also a waste of time.
Yeah, but it's not even like, I don't know. Again, that's where Mean Girls succeeded way more in being kind of, in pushing the envelope in that sense.
Yeah.
And like, you know, crossing the line of potentially taste. Whereas like this, it was like, I mean, could you even call it bad taste? It was just, like it is, but it was also like, as you said, pointless. Like what are we doing here?
And then when she popped in, you're kind of like, oh my God, did I miss something? Where was she? Was she really, like, was she in the background loads and I just missed out? And it's like, oh no, they've just thrown her in here and they've thrown her in here.
Yeah.
It's so random. I'm actually so relieved though that I have you on hand to help me break down the plot of this movie, because it is so, I'm going to throw out one of my favourite words, discombobulated. Like, I don't know what's happening where.
It's a lot. It's a movie.
I just don't understand why it's not being spoken about for how bad of a flop it is.
Yeah. I think, again, it goes to show how good Mean Girls was.
Yeah.
It's been... Everyone is just like, we're going to collectively ignore it now, and there never was a sequel.
Yeah, actually.
You mentioned the fashion earlier. Like, so this movie came out in 2011.
Yeah.
Do we think it's supposed to be set in 2011? And if so, do you think the fashion is reflective of that time? Because I'm like...
No.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, the noughties and early teenies, like, I'm sure there are things we look back on and be like, what the fuck were we all doing?
Yeah.
But some of it is.
Okay, I feel like,
Can you just describe some of the things that they wear? So I know you're saying frilly leggings and stuff, but...
So, yes, okay, so they had I love I'm like getting in position for this, right? Yeah. Okay, so they have the whole rah-rah skirt with like lacy leggings, or like, you know, leggings that come down to your calf, right? Yeah. And that was a staple back in, like, I want to say 2006, like you'd be going down to like Satonians.
Right?
Well, see, I feel like it was noughties.
Yeah.
It was in the noughties. Also, they have like these like, coloured hair pieces.
Extensions.
Yeah, that's 90s. I do not remember anyone in school going anywhere near that.
Yeah.
Like, no. That was like back when we were playing with like, well, actually, was I even playing with Bratz dolls? No, my sister would have been playing with Bratz dolls. That's back in Bratz doll era. Then you've got like, you know, all of the layered necklaces, which I know that we do, but it's like layering necklaces with like tank tops, like that kind of a stuff. Like, it's not of the time that it's set in. It's not 2011. And like, I think like, even if it was like, you know, around that time, okay, grand, I'd give them grace, but like, it's so far from it. Like, it's underage. It's like junior disco is what they're wearing, plus heels.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
When they're supposed to be in high school. Like,
when they're supposed to be in high school. Like, you know, when we were watching the original Mean Girls, you'd be looking at it and you'd be going like, these look like they're in their 20s, but I'm fully going with it. They're in their teens, that's fine. Whereas these ones looked so young.
They looked aged down, and I wonder, was that because, like, as I said, it was straight to TV, and it was so it was premiered January 23rd, 2011 on ABC Family, and then was released on DVD. So I'm like, did they age it down to try and get in like a younger audience? And also it goes back to that sanitization thing of, okay, this is for TV, this isn't like for a movie where you're separating the audiences and stuff, and it's more selective. This is, anyone could be seeing this at any time. And like, to be honest, a lot of the cast would have been from Disney properties as well. So like Megan Martin, who plays Jo, she's Tess in Canberra.
I was thinking I knew her. Like, she's got very nice teeth.
Yeah,
I'll give her that.
Incredible teeth.
Yeah.
Myra Walsh plays Mandy, and it was wrecking my head. I couldn't figure out her face.
Yeah.
She's Anna Solis in Desperate Housewives. Mina in Corey in the House. But I think what I recognised her from, another flop, she played Can't Miss in the Starving Games, which was like the spoof of the Hunger Games.
Oh, God.
That's probably one of the worst films of all time. If anyone wants to do that on Flop Culture, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, God. That sounds horrific.
I mentioned Jennifer Stone playing Abby, and then we had Nicole Gale Anderson, who plays Hope, one of the plastics. She was in Jonas, you know, the Jonas TV series on Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And iconic gymnastics series, Make It or Break It. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah.
Claire Holt played Chastity, who we mentioned, who was one of the mermaid girls on H2O.
Yes,
Cleo.
That is how I knew her. Claire. See, and I feel like when I saw the three of them walk in at the start of the movie, I was like, okay, and this is maybe me being stereotypical, but I was like, Blondie is going to be like the queen bee.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, I wanted to see our mermaid get more showtime.
Yeah.
Rather than just her down a random corridor smooching whoever.
Because I think she was funny. I think
she was funny.
It's funny because the Hope character, in some ways, because you mentioned like she's a real germaphobe in the show. It's funny how much, because there's a bit where they go to a party or something. Abby throws this big party on the same night as Mandy's to get people over, because Mandy's invite only, but Abby's is like everyone can come, and obviously she's also in a massive gaff. And Hope turns up in a mask, and I was like, ugh.
I know, it hit differently, didn't it?
Yeah. There's a joke about like swine flu at the end, because it's like she's got over being a germaphobe, and then she got swine flu, and now she's like never doing anything again, and it's like, ugh.
That was also because, you know, as I've said already, that this is like a low budgeter type thing. They put a lot of money into, let's say, more of the disgusting stuff, like more like the germaphobe. There's a lot of vomit, and there's like dog poop that like is very like someone spent a lot of time in that, like on props to create that and to create the vomit. Like I was like, whoa, okay, because I thought we were getting a glossy movie, and then they just throw some vomit in there.
You could just not describe this as. But it's not like edgy. It's not edgy. It's not as edgy as Mean Girls 1. It's not as glossy as Mean Girls 1. It's like dull.
I suppose glossy is the wrong word. It wouldn't be.
No, but I think you're right in the sense that it's not like.
It'd be kind of squeaky clean-ish.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I always find it interesting when you're talking about these flops to see where the budget was spent, and I think you're so right in that it just it clearly wasn't spent in other areas, and then maybe they overspent in others, and it's glaringly obvious in this film.
Like surely they must have spent their money on the cars, because there was a lot of them. They must have spent it on the big houses and the poo and the vomit.
The poo budget was huge.
The poo budget was massive.
It was out the door.
But it was so bizarre. Also, sorry, can we rewind to one of these moments, right? So the stunt crew would have had to help out with this, right? Where it's supposed to be that Mandy is like literally stitches up more or less Joe, because she gets stuck. Her pants get stuck to the Vespa. Do you remember this scene?
I wasn't sure
what happened.
Is she like cutting the brakes on the Vespa? Like, because that's like diabolical.
Yeah,
that's evil.
That's what at first I was like, is that what she's after doing? Secondly, I was like, oh, is this now a woe is me moment that Joe is doing to be like, help me, Abby. Okay, now we're lovely friends because you helped me. I thought that maybe it was that. And then she's like, she scoots up and then she's like, I gotta go, and then drives through the halls. I was like, what are we witnessing? What are we witnessing? So very bizarre. But then it was like, oh my God, Mandy got me and la. And I was like, but once again, they don't give much time to it. So they kind of just move on. And I think that's when Joe gets her, I think that's when Joe becomes very cool, because she was just randomly driving through school on a Vespa. Surely she should have gotten expelled for that first.
Yeah.
It's all,
It's bizarre. Apparently, the film was shot in 20 days, and let me tell you,
it does.
It looks.
Also, sorry, what did it get? It got it did very well on Rotten Tomatoes. It got 30%. People are being very kind.
Yeah, that's generous.
That's a very generous recommendation.
That is so generous. Yeah, Joe Mitchell had said that the film took
20 days.
But it makes sense, because even if you think back to some of the, the date scene where she's on the date with Tyler, but they don't film any of it. It's just loads of photos of them on the date.
That is the weirdest montage photos ever, because also like the way those pictures are taken, they're very Photoshopped. Like they're so edited. what's the word that I'm thinking? Airbrushed.
Yeah.
They're so
like filtered
airbrushed.
in a very strange way.
Yeah, I think that's another place where the budget went.
Yeah.
It was just the most bizarre. And as well, you're kind of not even rooting for either of them. You're like,
no.
I don't really care if you end up together.
I think you could forgive a lot of the writing if the characters were rootable for. That's not English, but you get what I mean. Like,
yes,
you could forgive so much if they're really like so last week we just did True Detective season 2, and the writing there leaves a lot to be desired. But there's some really good performances. And look, maybe like I have to, I don't know, be a bit more forgiving, I suppose. It's not. Is it fair to compare True Detective 2 with Mean Girls 2? Probably not. Like, these are very young actors in the beginning of their career.
Yes.
With, a silly, like, tongue-in-cheek sequel.
Yes.
But at the same time, fuck me, it's like Joe, I found borderline unlikable. I think the issue with Mandy is that I found her kind of forgettable.
Yeah, same. Like, you kind of...
Joe, I just actively didn't like. I was like... You got yourself into this. Like, the movie would have been way shorter if you just told the dad no, but like...
I know. I don't really... to be honest, I found them all to be incredibly irritating, but every so often I was kind of going, it's not the... Because I was disliking the characters, but then I was also disliking the actors, and I went, it's not their fault. There's only so much you can do with the writing. There's only so much you can do. But then, once I thought that, and then was just, okay, let's focus on the characters at hand, I was like, they're all... wagons. They're all wagons. And even like your one, we didn't even get to talk about...
newspaper girl.
Shona? No.
Quinn Shin.
There we go.
Did you... Okay, sorry. So, again...
She came from the rear.
But where did this go? Okay, so she's this other outcast character who works for the newspaper and is trying to find a big story to, like, break, essentially, and kind of nearly take down Mandy in some way. Again, she is this kind of rivalry with Mandy, kind of.
Yes.
It's not... I didn't think it was that obvious where her storyline was going,
yes.
Right? But she becomes friends with Joe and Abby. And then obviously Mandy gets wind of the plot to be a paid for friend, essentially.
Yeah.
Goes to Quinn, or Quinn finds out about it as well.
Oh yeah, she goes to tell. She tells Quinn,
and Quinn breaks the story on her.
And then she comes into school, and it's all out there, and everybody knows what's happened. And then she's kind of like hand on hip, like your one Quinn is now a wagon.
Yeah, and it's like I had to do what I had to do. But then by the end of the movie, Mandy has totally fallen off because it's revealed that it's her and the boyfriend, stitched up Joe, whatever, and she's getting community service and stuff, blah blah blah. She's totally fallen off the pecking order. And Quinn has come up and taken over. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I know. And now she's got boobs. Now she's got cleavage. Now she's got like...
looking completely different.
I was like, who's your one? I know. It was...
And then I was just like, would the other two have like just gone up? And I know the whole thing is that they're so easily led, but I was just a bit like, what? You're telling me this one who's being perceived as a weirdo for the entire thing is now like running the school, essentially?
I know. I don't even know. There was hardly any time given to her. She's there like scooping up, Mandy's dog, who is in this movie for not even very long. Coco Chanel.
R.I.P. Coco Chanel. That dog's dead.
That dog is... Fionnuala.
Where did it go, Zeinab? Where did it go? There's a whole scene where it's like the dog vomits in a bag. Again, we're getting two fun scenes where it's like the dog vomits in a bag, Mandy's losing the plot. Abby's been feeding it again. It was like, what other time are you feeding it, Abby? You know, it's always...
It's so bizarre that she puts the bag and the dog into a bin and walks away.
Honestly,
like, what
bizarre.
is happening? And then I think, is it Quinn or Abby scoops the dog up? Oh my God, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Also, another moment that that irked me, which was supposed to be a good Samaritan situation, was when at the end, Joe does Abby's portfolio so she can get into college. What the hell?
Yeah.
You don't just put someone's portfolio together like bam, bam, bam. That was great. Super easy. Like what?
How do you know what she wants represented as her art? You know?
And I love how it's just like, oh, by the way, Joe did your portfolio. She entered it. You got into this college.
When the fuck did Joe have time either for all this fucking scheming and shagging Tyler? You know?
Oh my God! It's you know what I have to say, right? They tried to do so much, and I can't believe they managed to squeeze so much into an hour and a half.
They did, yeah.
Like, there's so many storylines.
Yeah.
You could have picked one of these and made a separate movie about it. Like, I want to know. I need to look up. Where's Mean Girls 2.5?
Coco Chanel?
Where is Coco Chanel? What happened when they went to college? Did they go to college? Did they all get expelled for more, I don't know, trials and tribulations that they turned on each other.
From all petty theft.
Yes, I need to know.
Yeah.
I need to know. But weirdly enough, right, it really entertained me for all the wrong reasons. Like, I was laughing my head off so many times. Trevor was like, oh, it's obviously good. And I was like, oh, no.
No, babe.
So if you want to laugh, if you want to cry at the fact that you wasted an hour and 36 minutes, you can do both. You can achieve both with this movie.
Yeah. It's crazy because there are a lot of good people involved in this. So in terms of the writing team, you have Alison Schroeder, who went on to co-write Hidden Figures.
Stop. Hidden Figures, the one about the women for NASA.
Yes.
Stop.
Wrote that with Theodore Melfi, which went on to earn a nomination for an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. Okay. So, girls, if you flop really hard with your first movie, just know the next one could get you nominated for an Oscar.
You could get nominated for an Oscar. You could have, oh my God. Okay, that is, you know what? We have to start somewhere. Yeah. You all have to start somewhere.
Now, the other writers, Cliff Ruby and Alana Lasser, seem to be mainly working in children's television. Good for them. The director, Melanie Myron, did a couple episodes of the recent Julia TV series. I don't know if you watched any of that.
Julia?
With Julia Childs, the chef.
Oh.
It's supposed to be good. I've watched it.
Oh, Julia, sorry.
I'm saying Julia, not Julia Stiles.
I'm thinking you're saying Julia Childs, and all I'm hearing is Julia Childs from Save the Last Dance. Like, that's all I'm picturing.
Someone please make a series about her. Like,
oh my God! Actually, was there Save the Last Dance too? There probably was.
Will you please come back and
oh my God, I will. Oh my God, I just went, oh. That's why I was like, wait, do I have my opportunity to come back?
Brilliant.
Oh my God. Wow.
We finish up, I'd love to talk about, because we're a week having seen the Mean Girls musical adaptation now. We went to see it together.
Yes. Thank you for having me, girl.
Not at all. I thought it was good. How are you feeling a week later? How do you think that worked? What do you reckon? Bop?
Okay.
Bit of a flop? What?
A smidge of a...
Especially because you have a musical background. It'd be great just to pick your brain on that.
Okay.
Genuinely.
So I went in kind of not knowing what to expect, but hoping that... I knew it was an adaptation of the musical of the movie, right? So I was kind of hoping like, I hope they keep in some of the like main iconic quotes, which they did. We've got some of the old costumes that I loved. So I loved it for that. Now, coming from a musical theatre background, right? I'm well used to just breaking into song for absolutely no apparent reason and being totally fine with that. In this movie, it felt off. It felt off in a lot of places. Janice Ian gets a lot of songs and she did not need to have a lot of songs. Now, Regina George, I think her Regina George kind of song was fantastic. I loved that. She had another song in a party scene that was brilliant. So there's two songs that Regina does that I loved, and the choreography as well in the movie was very good, but there was a lot of songs that we could have done without.
Yeah.
A lot of songs we could have done without. But I did love Renee Rapp as Regina George. I found her so sexy.
Yeah.
Like, so sexy, so cool.
I think, like, embodying Regina, but also being different enough that it's not going to warrant a lot of... The people who are going to compare, but I'm like, you did your own thing, you put your own stamp on it, it worked.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway.
I felt like, she did a really good job at, like, giving a nod to what Rachel McAdams has done, but also completely made it her own. And I suppose as well, like, Caddy Harron in it, I liked her, but I think I preferred Lindsay more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? She did a good job, but...
I think some of... Angourie Rice is the actress. I think some of her moments were the ones that kind of felt the flattest for me.
Yeah.
And it's only... At the time, I didn't find it, like, offensive, obviously, watching. Not that I find it offensive now, but, like, I'm scrolling through my TikTok and, like... A lot of the TikTok girlies are the people who are very big fans of the musical and are watching this very keenly.
Yeah.
You're seeing that song Stupid in Love come around on TikTok a lot, and they are rinsing that. Like, they're like, what is this?
See, you know what? When I go to watch musicals, I always think of like, what song back in the day when I was in university would I have gone, oh, I need to bring that to classic. I want to perform that. And I think there was only like one or two, and Stupid in Love was definitely not one of them.
Yeah.
Definitely not one of them. Even some of like, I have to give it to them though, dancing wise, it was very good. Loved what they did. I also did enjoy the fact that there was always the same three girls that were like behind whoever it was as the like, choir and stuff. But overall, I did enjoy it. I still love the original, but I did enjoy watching that, and I actually would be really curious to see how they do it on stage. I'd be really curious to actually go and see the actual musical. Yeah, so if anything, it's, you know, made me want to go and buy tickets to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked the nod that they did. I'm trying to like not give things away, but I just love that we've got Tina Fey back. We've got Principal Duval being a good Principal Duval.
Back getting his paycheck.
Yeah, working hard for that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I think it was good. Not everything worked, but I think fun, not trying to reinvent the wheel. If you don't like musicals, you probably won't like it.
Yeah, you probably won't. Yeah. I know that in the trailer it doesn't look like it's a musical, but it is it's a hard musical.
Yeah.
It's a proper musical. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Mean Girls too.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Oh, the one thing that I say about Mean Girls too.
Oh yeah.
Some of the songs absolutely slapped. Katy Perry, Hot and Cold.
Oh my God, sorry, yes, the soundtrack.
That song from Ayaz that I haven't heard in a very long time. I literally wrote down.
Oh my God, Ayaz.
I wrote down, not the Ayaz song, next sentence, not the Coloured Streaks.
I forgot about the soundtrack. Okay, we'll give that to them.
And what was the other? They have that Jay Sean song. Go party like it's the end of the world. Party like it's 2012. Do you remember everyone thought the world was going to end because of the Mayans?
Yes.
Bizarre.
I completely forgot about that. Okay, right. Well, I mightn't stream it again, but I will stream the soundtrack.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Oh, sorry. I'm just reading back some of my other notes. Why do we always end up watching weird movies with incestuous sibling characters? Because the whole Tyler and Mandy being stepped, there was weird chemistry there. I was like, I hate this.
There was very strange chemistry, and also we don't really find out more about why they're like what happened there. Have they lived with each other since they were like quite young? I don't know. It was giving me kind of, you know, Bring It On vibes with the sister and that brother.
Yeah.
That was also a bit kind of incestuous feeling.
Yeah.
But this one though, even more so because you watched it from the original Mean Girls, you're going, okay, Mandy's going to be pissed off because she's going after Tyler and that's her man. And then you're like, oh, that's her brother? That's her stepbrother?
That's her stepbrother?
I know, it makes you kind of feel a bit like, oh my God, why was I thinking there was something going on there? Have I just created that? Ew.
No, I think nobody knows what's going on in this film, and it's all.
I know. I think it should have stayed on a DVD and maybe not gone to streaming services.
Yeah.
Dare I say it?
Yeah. Oh, Zeinab, it's been a pleasure. Where can people see you, hear you, find out more about you?
They can check me out on Instagram on Zeinab Official, and also you can listen to me on the Strawberry Alarm Clock on FM 104. You can stream us on your radio or on the app.
Do it.
As well.
Do it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I'm thrilled. Please come back to Save the Last Dance too.
I'm 100% going to go home and do my homework immediately.
Zeinab, thank you so much for joining me on Flap Culture.
Thanks, girl.
A huge thanks again to Zeinab for joining me. I'll leave all of her links below if you want to check her out and follow her anywhere. And as she mentioned, you can also hear her every weekday morning on FM 104 Strawberry Alarm Clock. Top the flaps. Again, we're going at breakneck speed here, but I mean, I don't really know who else I could choose given this week's news.
You're a flop.
No Schnapp, star of Stranger Things. A lot of sighing this episode, I'm really sorry. He has come out, he's addressed the online backlash to his stance on the ongoing conflict with Israel and Palestine. He conveniently is saying that his thoughts and beliefs have so far been misconstrued. Noah, outside of Stranger Things, if you're not familiar, like he was kind of the quote-unquote breakout star in one sense, not even in the sense of acting or work, but he had kind of amassed this online following of his own, particularly on social media. He's kind of an early adopter of it. And he's very young, like he's 20, it's kind of a space where he's meant to be, essentially. But he said but because of that, I think he's a bit very online, right? And he's had lots and lots and lots of ongoing online social media drama, some of which I think I've actually covered on this podcast before. We're talking like kind of beef with Doja Cat and like just kind of, I don't know, he's kind of been omnipresent on social media and has this reputation for kind of nearly perpetually sticking his foot in his mouth. You know what I mean? And this is probably the biggest and most recent example of it. So he had we have to go back to October, obviously, October 7th, following the Hamas attack. And at the time, he gave a very impassioned speech on Instagram in which it's kind of nuts reading back the statement to see what has followed since. But he said, and he's deleted the statement since also, I think it's important to note. As a Jewish American, I am afraid. Afraid for my brothers and sisters in Israel who've been senselessly attacked by Hamas. I'm truly heartbroken to see the brutal murders of innocent children, women and soldiers fighting to defend themselves. I, like others, want peace for both Palestinians and Israelis. Let's stop the rhetoric and choosing sides. I think that sentence is important, right? Let's stop the rhetoric and choosing sides. Instead, we must recognise that we are all on the side of the fight against terrorism. Choose humanity over violence, right? So again, whatever, kind of interpreted as like a bit weak, essentially, but I think, whatever. I think some people were willing to move past it, or like it moved past other people, that it wasn't. I think he could have potentially maybe recovered from that or whatever, or wouldn't have been really a thing. Where the backlash really grew against him is when there were allegations that he liked a video mocking Palestinian victims in Gaza. First of all, again, that's alleged. It's very hard to track those things, but it's also very easy to undo a like or undo a repost, stuff like that, whatever. The biggest issue has been a clip that emerged showing him with stickers that read, "Zionism is sexy," right? And that's where the most kind of strong backlash has been. And people have been quite vocal about it. And the clip is very like, he's laughing, he's having a good time. I'm not sure he's considering both sides in that clip. That's just my personal opinion. But anyway, so obviously Stranger Things season 5, the final season, it started production. But you're seeing a lot of comments and a lot of commentary from fans being like, not going to watch this because of predominantly Noah Schnapp. He's actually not the only cast member that I think is engaging with this. We'll talk about that in a sec. So I don't know, was it Netflix? I don't know, was it his management? I don't know, did it actually come from him himself? Someone was in the ear, or potentially not, or he was like, hey, maybe I need to address this because I don't know, and we're still 100 days into this war and people are continuously dying, and you know what, maybe I don't look great, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So he took to TikTok, and as I mentioned there, he said he believes his thoughts and beliefs have been so far misconstrued. He said he just wanted to come on super briefly to discuss everything that's been going on online. I feel like my thoughts and beliefs have been so far misconstrued from anything even close to what I believe. And I wanted to just state from my heart how I feel. I only want peace and safety and security for all innocent people affected by this conflict. I've had so many open discussions with friends from Palestinian background, and I think those are very important conversations to have. And I've learned a lot. One of the takeaways I've had is that we all hope for the same things, that being those innocent people still being held hostage in Gaza to be returned to their families, and equally hope for an end to the loss of innocent life in Palestine. So many of those people being women and children, and it's horrible to see. And I mean, obviously there's a huge issue with looking to celebrities to be your moral compass whatsoever, because the fact of the matter is this hero worship of celebrities only results in us being disappointed, angry. A lot of the times that you have people coming out making statements where they just don't know what they're talking about. There's a lack of understanding. Again, I'd like to give this guy grace. He's 20 years old. Was I as politically tuned in at 20 years old? Definitely not. But having said that, I just feel like, I don't know, guys. I mean, the stickers or the badges or whatever, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot, and that's a very strong statement to be making. And to be honest, I do think that is his issue with this social media presence and how strongly he likes to put himself forward on social media. And a part of me just wonders if it's too little too late. Like, he's turned off the comments on all the videos now, and I'm big on forgiveness, even towards celebrities, funnily enough, and I'm big on, you know, extending grace to people to learn. But at this point, with a conflict that has been so serious and so not taken seriously by so many across the world, particularly in the United States, and particularly given he is so influential with regards to young people and holds such a position of power. It's just incredibly disappointing. And this does smack of, oh, actually my career's on the line, so I need to go back to the all sides thing. I need to go back to the, well, I don't think anyone should die. You know what I mean? Whereas previously it had been, you know, Zionism is sexy, which is again, what a statement. Anyway, his co-star, Brett Gelman, has come out in support of him. Brett Gelman, I mean, potentially just his Fleabag character in real life, frightening. He has been back and forth over to Israel and is actively acting like a mouthpiece over there and posting just absolute like propaganda on his Instagram page. I really actually don't even recommend looking, out of curiosity's sake, right? But he's come out in support of Notion app. He got cornered by a TMZ person, and TMZ obviously asked about the social media statement. And Brett said he liked the viral photos of Noah with the stickers reading Zionism is sexy, agreed with Noah calling out Hamas as a terrorist organisation. He then goes on to say that anyone who's not pro-Israel is consciously or subconsciously being anti-Semitic, which that's a statement that I personally don't believe is true at all. Now, he did also go on to say that, you know, there are some issues. There are some issues in Israel, as there are in every country. Says he's not a fan of Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay. But ultimately he supports Israel and Israeli people. And, you know, he said Noah's message was about unity, hope, peace. Brett, staunchly against the death of innocent Palestinians, but wonders why those deaths are being blamed on Israel and not Hamas. It's very frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating how blind some people can be to history that is ongoing, history that is unfolding. And I just dread to think in a couple of years when we look back and again, we're kind of questioning celebrities on this moment, or we're questioning anyone on this moment. You'll have kids questioning parents being like, did you do anything? What did you do? And this is what we have to look back on, you know? It's just, it's very scary. And you know what? It's really, really sad. And I mean, again, I'd like to give the grace of forgiveness, and I'd like to give Noah in some ways the benefit of the doubt of quote unquote not knowing. I don't know. I just simply don't think that's the case. And I think even the fact that he's no longer willing to engage on social media and turning the comments off a statement, I'm like, that's a bit telling, isn't it? That's a bit telling. It's all a bit sad, and also on a totally trivial, and I fundamentally acknowledge that this is trivial in comparison to what's going on in the grander scale of things. It's put such a dampener on the final season that I was really actually looking forward to seeing a conclusion, and Notion app was such a big part of that show that it's now like, I don't know. Am I going to watch it? I don't know. The whole thing feels a bit fucking weird. And like, then you wonder if him saying this is going to, are they going to write around him? And then it's like, is that the true ending of the show? I don't know. It's all, I'm curious. Are you going to watch? Are you going to watch Stranger Things season 5 regardless? Are you over it? I don't know. Flop behaviour anyway, that's all I'll say. I mean, if you're not sure, why weren't you talking to Palestinians before you were making stickers and badges? You know what I mean? I think that's what it comes down to, ultimately. Ultimately, flop behaviour. That is it from us. We are flopculture_pod on social media. I'd love to have you over there. Ratings, I love the 5-star ratings. Apple, Spotify, wherever, hit me. I will say we're 2 reviews away from 250 reviews on Spotify, and I cannot look at that number. So if anyone would like to leave a 5-star, even a 4, you know, whatever, some small thing wasn't working for you, 4 is enough, that's fine. We can't be greedy in January, you know what I mean? I would appreciate any reviews. And if you leave a 5-star review on Apple, I will recommend a pop or flop to you at the end of next week's episode. You just need to leave your nickname. We're over on Patreon, patreon.com/flopculture, where you can get ad-free episodes, early access. There's a mini-sode up at the minute all about Kim Kardashian Hollywood game. Myself and Owen recorded an episode on Saltburn. That's coming very soon. And all the usual good time stuff. And as a reminder, some of the episodes are available to watch on YouTube. We're back next week. I'm very excited. We will be talking about a one-and-done Netflix series that I'm annoyed with One and Done because it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger and I need to know what happens to all those characters. But I won't. I don't think I will anyway unless another network picks it up. But anyway, I'm very excited for that. This has been Flop Culture, edited as always by Adam Shanahan. Have a great week and I will see you and talk to you really, really soon. Bye.